What's up, everybody? I'm admin man Eli Markus. There you go.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Yeah, it's coming through clear for me. You good?
Yes, I'm excellent.
Absolutely, man. Let's. I don't know. I'm gonna invite a few people before we just get started hard. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
So just give me a second. I always start the videos by inviting people at this point.
Understood.
All right, for everybody out there waiting, I'm just doing some invites. Some of y'all might be on already. So I want to hit some invites, get as many people as we can get in here before we get this alternative intelligent radio started. Get this good brother on this live. Let's see here. You get a bunch of invites in real quick. Everybody out there listening, bear with us. And a lot of people are excited about this, so I want to make sure I get to it. And my people sharing it. Start sharing. I promise y'all this is going to be worth it. Start sharing right away. Few more invites. I promise I will invite. Yes. All right, well, let's do a few more. We're going to get this thing started. Here we go. All right, what's up, King? How you doing this evening?
I'm excellent, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Let me see if I can set this thing down so I'm not moving the video the whole night. There we go. All right, you coming through clear. I'm coming through clear. But if everybody out there, my name's Montoya Smith, a.k.a. Black Socrates, and y'all are tuned in live to a Mental Dialogue Facebook Live, and I'm glad to have on special guest Eli Markus. If any of y'all are regular listening to the talk show, I had this brother on probably a little over a month ago, and he murdered one of our conversations with smart people. For those of y'all that are familiar with that series, I'm glad to have you back, brother, and thank you. Let me just start out and say this. Thank you for sponsoring tonight, because we not only do we have this hot and heavy topic that people are interested in, but you actually have brought a solution to the table for all the good brothers and good sisters out here looking for one another. I seen a meme recently that says all the good people missing each other, but they're spending time down in the barrel with those who ain't ready for a real relationship, man. So I think it's a good intro to one. Say thank you for coming on again, and if you will, say hello to all the truth seekers that's watching with us, and give a little bit of your background, and go ahead and let people know what this Wifey app is all about. We're gonna definitely get into the discussion question for everybody tuned in for that, but this app plays a good role in why we're doing this and why this discussion is needed. Go ahead, King.
I appreciate you for having me on your platform. As many of you know, I'm the founder of a new app called the Wifey app. The Wifey app is designed for marriage-minded people who are trying to get married in the near future, and they just want to only date from a pool of people who are also marriage-minded. The Wifey app launched less than 2 weeks ago. It's growing rapidly, so I'm very happy about the results so far. I'm excited about the topic tonight, which is what is husband material, because we spend too much time saying what wifey material is. So I'm excited about that topic, and again, thank you for having me on your platform.
Nah, absolutely. I love the name Wifey. I especially love the name as a single brother looking for a wife. So I can't wait to get on the app and see what's out there and what's available. But as you just mentioned very briefly, society, we do on social media, even before we had social media, society, one thing that I've seen throughout my lifetime is a consistent effort to tell, in a sense, our sisters, our women, what they need to do, in a sense, to secure a husband for those who have had that in mind, right? So we've seen that done time and time and time and over and over again. So to be very poignant when it comes to this actual app, like you said, you put this for people that are marriage minded. So I think there's no better way than to handle this topic than to say let's distinguish. The Wifey app is not a dating app. The Wifey app is not a hookup app. And so when you make that distinction, so it's almost like, what do I need to do? How do I step up and get on your app? Being what I need to be, if I'm looking for a wife, I also need to be in a position to have a wife, to protect a wife, to provide for a wife. And so again, with an app that's not the typical run-of-the-mill dating app. For this app, then that's a discussion we need to have. Like before you get on the Wifey app, what kind of man should you be in a sense? And of course, different strokes for different folks as far as who should actually come together as one. You know what I mean? There's no one set way to do that. But at the same time, I think a reality, and you can speak to this as well, I think there's a reality in our community, specifically the African-American community, where this question kind of comes up just based on our American experience. The idea of, in a sense, men looking for wives quite often are expecting a woman to exhibit wifey qualities, but have not themselves learned what they need to do to get that. And so they have the expectations quite often without being responsible, and I may have been guilty of it in my younger years, you know what I mean? Just to be, if I want to be very honest about it, and that's what we do. We do raw and honest conversations. But anyway, I wanted to kind of just say all that to say, this is, not only do you have this app, but before I use this app, let's talk about what kind of man I need to be to take advantage of your app. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. Again, I know it's marriage-minded people, but if you would just kind of open it up from the man side of things, because again, we don't talk about this enough, and we are willing to be honest and have that conversation. So go ahead, King.
That is an excellent point. Putting the focus on what do men need to do to get a wife before they go searching for a wife. So what I would say is, what men need to be mindful of, oftentimes your level of performance as a man is going to afford you a wife that you can afford based on your performance. So if you want a high quality woman, you have to be high performing. And if you're not currently performing highly in the marketplace, you're going to get a woman who's going to submit herself to what you can afford. So if you only come into the store with $2, they're going to direct you to the products that cost $2. So you have to be equally yoked. So it's two sides to it. Women have to, and I don't want to use the word sell themselves, because that can get put out of context. But women have to make sure that they're not accepting terms and conditions that are not conducive to the price that they would like to go for, based on a man's performance and his quality and his character.
It's definitely a strong opening. Makes a lot of sense. Now, what I want to bring to the context in having that conversation is to put it in perspective of what I consider everyday reality in these discussions, but the reality of people trying to find one another, or who to kind of, in a sense, take a chance with. So a couple of questions I have for you before I go into the reality of what this looks like. From your perspective, I've recently, I think I've told you, I've joined a marriage group just to shout them out, Roots of Royals. I'm just kind of familiar with some of the things that they talk about. And I'll say that a lot of that stuff was eye-opening for me based on how I was raised just in my own lifetime. Eye-opening on the perspective of, while I've always, my grandfather, I did see a role, I did see a role model in my grandfather, in the sense that traditional, in the sense that he took care of his family. So I got to see that, whereas I would say a lot of my peers didn't see any examples of that, right? So I was fortunate to see some level of what it looked like to a certain extent, right? But for the most part, my grandmother still worked. And I'm just kind of wanting to hear what your thoughts on, just from a standpoint of when you start talking provide, that has a lot of context for a lot of people. So I want to hear your perspective on what providing looks like, based on when I follow you. I tell anybody that follows the Mental Dialogue page, I constantly put up these posts called The Mind of Eli, because this brother lays it down. Let me say this as well. I admire this brother's perspective. I think you may even be younger than me or whatever, but that doesn't matter. I appreciate the perspective, because you often challenge me to be better based on, because I see you speak truth, and it's a standard I don't know that I can admit to, that I don't know that I've always achieved. So I am very curious to hear, what does providing look like to you as a man, and men in your tribe, as you always like to subscribe to, what does that mean for you and men in your tribe? What does that look like for you? Just to get some context on that.
Okay. Well, first of all, on the Wifey app, I look at my users as the free market. So there are actually options on there. If you are a provider or if you're a woman looking for a provider, you can select that. If you're looking for a 50-50 type situation, you can also select that. Or other options, there's polygamy as well. Because I believe in giving the free market an opportunity to all give me their money. I'm not going to just focus in on one. Now, nonetheless, my personal beliefs is more on the traditional side. And I don't want us to assume that all men provide or they're supposed to provide, because in certain cultures, men are not the providers. In certain cultures, their women work sometimes harder than the men. In the world, there's a seat for everybody. There's a seat for the indentured servant. There's a seat for families that are generationally wealthy and successful. There's a seat for everybody. So you have to decide the pros and cons of the type of legacy that you want to leave, if you want to leave a legacy, because everybody's not legacy focused. And those people, of course, will work for the families that are. Now, what it means to me for a man to provide, it's not just financial. It's also providing directions. It's providing a vision. It's having a vision for your children before they're born. It's having a plan for your wife before you even meet her. It's preparing a place for your family before they even come into your existence. It's establishing a space and building on that space and establishing territory before you even build your tribe members. So first you establish a space. Then you come up with a policy, protocol, code of conduct. And then you grow your tribe by getting married, having children, perhaps connecting with other like-minded people, and just being about that money, being about building wealth, having business together, protecting each other's interests, looking out for each other. If one brother's down, you lift him up because he's in your tribe or she's in your tribe. So that's what it means to me to provide.
Now, I definitely wanted to hear your perspective on that. We got one quick question. I think somebody that may have just jumped in, and I'll let you answer it. We kind of mentioned this, but I'll just let you respond. One quick question. If you have questions, if you're online, we're going to take y'all questions throughout this dialogue. So this is not, me and Eli going back and forth, but we really want y'all to jump in and ask whatever questions you need. And we're going to be open and honest about our perspective. But just a little quick question was, is it a dating app? And I'll let you respond to it. Again, I've already kind of told you my perspective on it, but you can answer that question. Is the Wifey app a dating app? Somebody just, Tamika just asked.
The Wifey app is more than a dating app. It's an app designed for marriage-minded people. The dating world has established a reputation for hookup culture, serial daters. I mean, literally, there's people out there who just serial date. They jump from person to person, week to week. They got 4 or 5 STDs, and they don't know which one gave them which STD. So there's so many different things out there in the dating world that's not marriage focused. So I like to make a difference between what the Wifey app is and what's different between us and everyone else. And we're focused on quality over quantity. I'm not looking for 1 million users. I don't even need 100,000 users. I just need 10, 20,000 quality-minded people. I need people to be getting married who are serious-minded and marriage-minded. That's the niche community that we're looking for on the Wifey app. Someone said, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. You see it? Yeah, go ahead.
Someone said, you seem to be promoting capitalism. Well, we live in a capitalistic society, and you cannot survive without money in this society. So you have to add a little bit more to your comments so I can understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would like to hear a little more context to that. The one thing I will add to that, in agreement with you, not only are we living in a capitalistic society, but the rules that exist within that society can be applied regardless of your condition, race, ethnic group, cultural. And so there are rules that if you follow, you will see some of those results. I applaud you. I like following you, Eli. And I feel like as I follow you, it seems like, not only are you wealth-minded, but you are on that path to the degree that you can provide in the way that you suggest, right? Let's talk about a little bit of reality for what that looks like today when, at least within the African-American community, there's this general concept that we understand that there was a period of time historically where Black men provided for their wives, right? Or my grandparents is that example I just gave you. And so for that generation, that wasn't an uncommon thing, right? It wasn't uncommon to see men providing that way. And again, as you said, your app is not relegated to that, but I want to get into that discussion as far as answering today's question. So if we understand that at one point, that seemed to be the history, or we at least aware that was at one point where it was normal to do so, we know that our community, and America in general, but our community specifically, has gotten away from that being the norm. And a lot of times when we look at the reality of what that looks like, some things that are talked about, I just want to hear your thoughts on this, is the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. And so for example, $40,000, at one time could have easily provided for a whole family. And today, people say, with the way the economy is, for example, I'm just saying, for example, and I'm using that number because that's about the average number that an African American male, according to the numbers, right? That's close to the number, like 42,000. So I'm using that number, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it, because I've heard people that are saying with that number, or even a little less than that, then they say that number alone drives the 50-50 culture that I grew up in. I grew up in the 50-50 culture. And that's where we see most of Americans, at least in my opinion, and the numbers kind of shoot for that as well. And so a lot of people will say that number alone kind of pushes people towards the 50-50 culture, even if they would have preferred a more traditional marriage. But again, the numbers say that you can't do that. Your thoughts on people thinking that way? Because again, I'm learning the traditional model, not having been grown up in.
Okay, well, I tend to think more tribalistic than racial. So yes, several decades ago, it was a cultural norm in the Black community for men to be the providers. And a lot of that had to do with laws, women perhaps not being allowed to work in certain industries. Maybe there is more of a 50-50 culture, but I would also like to point out that some Black families stood on their square even when the culture went 50-50, and that there are several Black families where men are traditionally the providers in their household, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they never let go of those beliefs. Now, to the people that are 50-50, I'm not here to sway them not to be 50-50 or tell them what they're doing is wrong, because I believe that there's a seat at the table for everybody. I don't believe that's the wisest if you care about freedom, if you care about your wife standing her femininity, if you care about your family not being disrespected. That's not the wisest path to go. But if that's you and that's what you want to do, and you've done the research and your reasoning, and you're like, look, these bills got to get paid, by all means do it. But the bottom line is you're making another family richer. You're enriching a corporation, and that's taking away power from your household. So if you want to be an indentured servant for the rest of your life, that's your business. At the end of the day, God saw fit to make you and place you where you're at, and somebody's got to do that job. So I'm actually grateful for the 50-50 people. I'm grateful for the 10-90 people, and I'm also grateful for the brothers that step up and they want to be the sole provider of their household.
So here's a thought. So what about the 50-50 situations, which I think happens a lot, the 50-50 situations where a man still expects a woman to carry a kind of tradition, but it's 50-50.
Like, right. Why did she agree to those terms and conditions?
Out here, I'm sorry, say it again.
My response to that is, why did she agree to those terms and conditions to a man who wants 50-50 but still expects some traditional respect? It's not logical. I agree with you if that's what you're saying. But my question to the woman is, why did you agree to those terms and conditions? Some of y'all got to pay attention to what's in the paperwork before you sign on the dotted line. We need to read what people are presenting to us first, what's their proposal, and what are we agreeing to. Don't wait until you sign on the dotted line and then start questioning the contract. I'm stuck in a contract with LA Fitness right now. They're charging my car hundreds of dollars a month because I didn't read all the way what was on the paperwork. So I have to pay the consequence of that for the next 6 months. So in relationships, did you read what was in the paperwork or what that person was agreed to to be in that relationship? You can't change the conditions once you done sign on the dotted line. Now you stuck. And, if you die, you die.
We got a comment from my sister Patrice out here. Let's read this comment. I'll let you respond first, and I may get some thoughts as well. She says,
I'm sorry, so I'm hearing playback.
Oh, you're getting playback? Sorry.
I'm hearing playback.
I haven't done anything different, so I hope it works out.
It's
coming through
I'm
clear
still
now?
hearing it.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know what to do. It just happened all of a sudden. Can you hear me clear yet, or still doing it?
I'm hearing you clearly, but I'm also hearing playback.
I don't know what to do because I haven't changed nothing. All right, y'all. Hopefully we can get through this without this being a problem.
Maybe we could end this one and start another one and call it part 2.
All right. You don't think it'll work out? It fix itself out, whatever. When you say playback, that means, am I like coming through double? What does that mean exactly?
It means you're coming through double. I'm hearing what we spoke about 6 seconds ago, and I'm also hearing you currently.
Oh, it's a
at
delay.
the same time.
All right, y'all. So everybody, we're gonna go live again just to get it clear because he can't hear me because it's double playing for him. And Latrice, we're gonna get to your question. Hey, let me say this question because Latrice, can you thumbs up? Can you cut and paste and be prepared to put that question on the next live feed? Sorry about that. It's coming through as a double play, so he can't really hear me. Latrice, give me a thumbs up if you can be prepared to cut and paste your comment on our new feed. We're gonna go to a part 2. I think that's Latrice. Give me a thumb. Let's see. Type in OK so I can make sure it's you, Latrice, versus a heart. That'd be you. I'm trying to get this question before we switch. All right, we're gonna cut this one off. Sorry, y'all. We having some issues with the okay, I think that's Latrice. All right, she's coming through. All right, we're gonna finish this one. Come back live with us, y'all. Share it with other people. We're coming back live.